Developing property as a career can seem like a very lucrative and very appealing way to make your millions. However, the reality is very different. Take Jonathan Moon, a sales director in IT, earning great money and driving a fast car. He wanted to give all this up for a career as a property developer. However, 6 months into his first development, it seemed Jonathan was having a change of heart.
It has been an absolute rollercoaster. There is no two ways about it. I've never done anything like this before, and I hope to never do anything like this again.
But 18 months later, Jonathan has gone back for more. The question is, has he learned any lessons?
We learned for the last time. There's no need to spend quite as much money on technology.
Jonathan's first development was a small 2-bedroom flat in a quiet residential street in Battersea, and he had some big ideas to make it stand out.
I know the area, I know what I want, and the appeal is that it's appealing to me. So if I like it, then I'm hoping that other people might do too.
In 12 weeks, Jonathan intends to convert the loft into a brand new bedroom and bathroom, knock through the main walls, and build a glass brick wall to create his idea of a state-of-the-art renovation.
Smooth, feel of sophistication, nothing frilly, nothing fancy. Worktops that merge with worktop space rather than having edges and lines.
Jonathan's convinced that high-tech gadgets, including plasma screens, zone lighting, a music system linking all the rooms, and even a built-in coffee maker will make him more money.
I may be restricting the amount of people that might like the place, but in that I'm restricting it to a sort of person that is prepared to pay the money that I want them to buy it for. Somebody works maybe in the city, maybe in advertising, maybe in media, who knows. I've decided on the route that I'm taking. I don't want to deviate from it, and if at the end of it doesn't work, then I've failed, but I don't presume that I will.
Jonathan's so confident that he's borrowed £185,000 and used all his savings to buy and renovate the property.
Here we go.
So this is it. How long have you owned it?
About a month and a half.
Right, and how much did you buy it for?
195,000.
What are you planning on spending?
No more than 50, hopefully.
Right, so and selling it for how much?
300.
So 55,000 profit.
Indeed.
Which would be a fantastic return on Jonathan's investment. He bought the flat for £195,000, not including fees. And his budget is £50,000 for all of the works. Selling for £300,000 would earn him a massive £55,000 before fees for just 12 weeks' work, if he can pull it off. So you're going to keep this room pink then?
No. No, dramatically changing everything, hopefully.
What's the vision in here?
The vision is space. The vision is sort of new, modern living. Rather than having broken rooms, rather than having all these walls with walking from kitchens into bedrooms, into bathrooms or whatever, we're going to completely destroy what we've got as a structure of a house. Knock down through this wall here, and then obviously as we go through into the next room, we'll knock straight through there. So we'll have a long L-shaped kitchen, dining room, living room, sort of involving the sort of person that I am maybe. Nice open space living.
At the moment, the flat is spread over one floor. At the front there are 3 smallish rooms. One has been used as a reception room and the other 2 have been used as bedrooms. At the back there's a tiny kitchen with an even tinier shower room off it. But Jonathan's planning to entirely change the layout. As well as converting the empty roof space into a new master bedroom and bathroom, on the main floor he's going to knock down the walls between the 3 main rooms to create one large L-shaped area. At one end he'll put the kitchen, and at the other the sitting room. So this will be one big living room here, and then that'll be kitchen in there. And are you sure that you shouldn't have some form of divide between the kitchen and this living space, or do you see this as an open?
I just see it as open. I think that I like when I entertain. If I ever get into the kitchen, maybe somebody's having a drink, sitting down watching the telly. I don't want to have to ignore the people that I'm with. I like the continuation. I like the space. I don't think that there's any need to have any sort of formal partitioning.
The plans to open up the 3 rooms do make sense, and should create a real feeling of space. Though Jonathan could make this even better by adding sliding doors between the kitchen and living area. He'd keep the same sense of space, but would make the living area much more flexible. But Jonathan's entirely driven by making it where he'd like to live, rather than trying to appeal to as broad a market as he can. So it's going to have all the mod cons attached with it.
Yes, we'll have the plasma screen on the wall, the surround sound system. You walk in, the lights will come on, and the CD will start playing. And
all in this flat.
All in this flat. All in a little area. I mean, hopefully the whole house will be fully technology, or all technology will be linked. So you have a sort of a zoned sound system that you can play outside when you're on the terrace. You can play inside when you're in the living room. Even, for goodness sake, if you want one in the bedroom, you can have a sound system up there.
And that's all within the budget of £50,000?
It is, yes.
Although a budget of £50,000 may sound a lot, there's an awful lot to do on the money. He's allocated £25,000 for converting the loft, £10,000 for the rest of the building work, £4,300 for the new kitchen, £2,100 for the new bathroom and wet room, £3,500 for decoration, £1,500 for carpets and flooring, and £3,000 for all his gadgets, leaving just £600 in case things go wrong. But while Jonathan's happy to spend thousands on gadgets that are unlikely to add a penny of value to this property, he seems reluctant to do some of the basics. And what about the windows? Are you planning on replacing them?
Good question. One that I have. Currently, they're new BBC, so they're not best. They were probably fashionable back in the 80s. If we could do something on the curtainage, we can probably mask some of that. I don't think there's any need to rip them out.
This is a conservation area, as you know.
Yeah.
And I feel that your purchaser is going to expect the original sashes and not UPVC windows. To spend all this money on a really, really, really amazing, cool flat, and then have UPVC windows might be a problem.
Yeah,
Convinced.
not convinced. Well, again, we're looking at cost. So if the area wants sash, they might want to put them themselves. Okay. I don't know.
I think this is the wrong thing to be saving money on, especially when you look at the size of the building job that Jonathan's taking on. At the back of the flat, Jonathan's planning to build out from the old kitchen onto the patio to create a reasonably sized bedroom. And by moving the existing doorway, he'll create enough space for a luxury ensuite wet room. And there's still enough room for a small private terrace. The end wall of here, what's that going to be?
Well, I'm going to try for glass bricks. I think that it's going to allow light to pass through into the bedroom, giving it a feel for more space. The whole place is about space and light, and I think that might work, obviously with some sort of glass door as well, just to give depth.
Because maybe you could just have a fully glazed end wall to the bedroom with the doors. I mean, actually, open outwards, wouldn't they? Here, there's enough space.
Yeah.
But you could have this as a sort of private seating area. Jonathan's creating the second bedroom by converting the empty loft space. It'll have its own ensuite bathroom, tons of storage, and another roof terrace. It's great to put these two small terraces in, and they'll certainly add value. These ideas will appeal to his market. The layout that you've designed is absolutely great. I mean, you couldn't get it better. I think that's really fantastic. But I think that the specification that you're working towards with all the gadgets involved may alienate a certain sector of the market. I mean, this is a conservation area. It's a traditional residential area. It's not a new big development. And the kind of people who are going to be prepared to pay for the extra gadgets and want the extra gadgets, I feel would be more likely to want a gym and bars and a restaurant within a complex.
We have a gym around here. There are bars at the end of the road. There's public transport down the end. It has a feel of a conservation area, which maybe somebody would quite like. I quite like it personally. I quite like the Victorian aspect, but I do like my technology. I do like what I want.
I just worry that you're spending more than you need to on gadgets which a lot of people will find almost scary.
But by making it individual, by making it focused on a certain sort of person, I will attract somebody who has got money, who does want to live here, and will pay full asking price.
After 9 months searching for his first property, Jonathan wastes no time in getting going. He's decided to project manage the development himself, but he's brought in a team of Polish builders to do the hard work. 2 days later, and the old flat is disappearing. The plaster's gone, the stud walls have gone, and it's moving along at an incredible speed. In fact, just a bit too quickly.
I did everything I thought was important, and there was one issue that I neglected to realise was probably the most important. And it's literally at a point now where I have 3 months of a delay.
Months ago, Jonathan Moon gave up a successful career in IT to try his hand at property developing. With no previous experience, Jonathan wanted to turn this small 2-bedroom flat into a sleek, modern and open-plan apartment to make himself a profit of £55,000. With Jonathan project managing the development himself, the works got off to a flying start.
The guys, obviously, they enjoyed the stripping bit. It's the finishing bit that takes the time. We were saying the other day, I mean, how quickly we can get it all smashed about, but it's putting it all together again and making it look pretty is a hard bit.
Yeah, it's not much doing that floor, but the main thing is a roof, yeah? It's gonna take about, altogether, build it and cover it about 2 weeks.
That's going to be the crucial bit, because once we've got the roof on, then obviously all the internal will start, and we'll start being able to decorate. We'll have to make sure that, structurally will be fine downstairs, because the steel work will be in here.
As project manager, it's Jonathan's job to make sure everything arrives when it's supposed to, gets done in the right order, and in the right way. But this is a big job, and Jonathan's never done anything like it before.
Safe journey, fella.
Jonathan's putting in 3 huge steel girders to carry the extra weight of the new loft conversion. Because they're sunk into the party walls he shares with his neighbours, Jonathan needs special permission before he can start work. But he goes ahead without it. Within a week, the steels are in. And Jonathan gets a visit from his surveyor.
As you can see, we've moved on.
So, I know the worst.
Okay. Moving forwards, there shouldn't be any problems.
Well, I suggested that work on party walls stopped.
Yeah.
It should never have started.
Yeah.
Since I called you and said that, one of the owners was quite irate about the work going on. I mean, party walls, it's a very simple principle.
Yeah.
That you're informing people either side and below you that you're carrying out work.
Yeah.
And you're asking for their agreement.
Jonathan started work without getting proper permission, and it doesn't stop there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned about this. The scaffolding resting on somebody else's roof there. Party walls are common sense.
Yeah.
You know, that's somebody's property. They've had somebody walking about on their roof putting on scaffolding.
Yeah.
So he's very concerned about that and very annoyed that you've done it without getting his permission.
Just had a conversation with our party wall surveyor, which is a bit worrying, really. Well, it has huge impacts on the timeline of the project. Basically, Robert wanted to start putting the second mansard up. We had a brickie sorted out for the weekends, 2 days worth of brickwork, and that looks like it will probably have to be knocked on the head. I haven't told him yet.
The party wall legislation is there to protect people from having their property damaged by neighbours working on the walls they share. It doesn't necessarily stop you doing work, but you do have to go about it in a specific way, and Jonathan's got it wrong. Until it's sorted out, no one can do any structural work at the property. 2 weeks later, and there's still no permission. When do you expect the sign-off on the party wall agreements to happen?
Hopefully done in the next couple of days.
Fingers crossed. I mean, in my experience, it can go on for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Agreements have been sent out and they're being signed as we speak.
You hope?
Yes, I have.
The longer this goes on, the less work there is that the builders can do. Jonathan's desperate to keep them busy and on site because he's worried that if they go to another project, he may not get them back. Work now has to be done in the wrong order, costing Jonathan time and money. Your original budget was £50,000 for this project, but in my opinion that is amazingly optimistic.
We will probably be spending a little bit more than 50. We're sort of around the sort of £60,000 mark at the moment. Just with fine-tuning things. You know what it's like. You go and you see something, and then somebody says, "Oh, look, I've got a better offer now. This is a bigger, better, more wowy sort of kitchen, or these taps look better, and isn't that nice or anything?" Well, by putting that little bit of extra in, it's like going to a car showroom, and they say, "Well, I'll give you a CD player, we'll give you aircon, we'll give you all this for nothing." Then they're going to go, "Well, hold on, we'll go with that one rather than the one next door."
Unless, of course, there's lots of houses or flats that are exactly the same down the street, because you might get a little bit more than the other flats because yours is going to be nicer. But there's a point where if they can buy one down it's 4 doors down,
they'll come in, rip it all out, and do whatever they want. Yeah, there is that.
What if you only sold it for £275 and made £20,000 profit?
I'd be very disappointed and cry.
I'm worried that's exactly what Jonathan will be doing unless he gets his spending under control. 4 weeks into the project, and he's taking me to see a very expensive kitchen.
Something like this, nice and plain, just clear lines, nothing too fussy, nice, big, solid cupboards.
So this is the one for you, really?
Well, it's coming down to something like this.
So have you had a price for this particular kitchen for your flat?
Top end, it's about £10,000 with everything.
So 10,000, your budget's 4,300.
Yes.
So that would be twice your budget at the moment because it's 4,300, isn't it? 5 weeks into the development, and Jonathan still doesn't have the permissions he needs from his neighbours. Without them, he can't get on with any of the main building work.
I've spoken with Robert, and he's cracking on. He's got about a day's worth of work left. I don't want him to go off site, because if he goes off site, we could lose him for too long.
They usually, when the people call me, come to do it, they have all paperwork, But John never thought that's gonna cause that much problems, so. But he will be remembered for next time.
But this time, the development comes to a complete standstill, and Jonathan's builders leave the site. Four weeks later, Jonathan still doesn't have permission to do the structural work. He hasn't had an income for almost a year, and every day he's spending more money on loans and mortgages.
Well, party walls have now become the bane of my life, and for any developer in the future to be aware, because I thought I'd ticked all the right boxes. I did everything I thought was important, and there was one issue that I neglected to realise was actually the most important, and that's getting consent to do the works outside. The downstairs owners would not sign off party wall agreements. They are still worried that maybe that structurally I might be damaging their building. Maybe that if we add extra weight, we could end up in their living room. But they also wouldn't allow us to dig a trial hole. It's a sort of a catch-22 where, in their own way, they've just made it more difficult by saying, "Well, we need you to do this, but we won't allow you."
Jonathan needs to dig this hole in the downstairs neighbour's garden to expose the foundations. Then the surveyors can check whether they're big enough to carry the weight of Jonathan's building work. But relationships with the neighbours have gone from bad to worse.
We were trying to make some little creative lights on the side of the stairs. By drilling the wires into the wall, some dust, etc., did fall through into his the wires downstairs and damaged a number of articles, which he has been fully, I say it in an extended way, fully compensated for his trouble. And apologies all round. These things do happen. If we were able to continue, we'd get this done a lot quicker, and therefore you wouldn't have any more accidents. But anyway.
As a developer, it's crucial to properly manage your relationships with people living around your development. Getting the relationship right is really important, because if you don't, it could end up costing you time, money, and a lot of stress. Always try and meet all of your neighbours before you start building work. Let them know exactly what you're planning to do and what your timescale is for getting it done. Try and minimise the disruption to their lives. Help them, and they are more likely to help you. Without their cooperation, developing can be very, very difficult.
This is my career. I've said all along. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And I'd like this to be my future, so it'll be wholly detrimental to where I'm going forwards. I'll have 3 months of a delay.
Finally, 9 weeks after this development started, Jonathan's managed to get his neighbours' permission to dig the trial hole in their garden. This doesn't mean he can start work again, but at least it's a step closer. By the end of the day, he should know whether their foundations are strong enough to carry the extra weight. If not, he's going to have to underpin the house first. A team of builders arrive, and Jonathan's architect Leon is there to oversee the excavation. But getting their agreement to dig the hole hasn't come cheap.
£2,000 to dig a trial hole. Sometimes with these things you literally have to throw money at it to resolve the issue. Great deal going on here.
Well, yes. Well, here you go. 250.
I've got the rest, Jack.
Finally, 2,000.
Jonathan needs to get this project moving, and he's decided that paying the neighbours £2,000 compensation for their time and damage to their garden is worth it if he can start work again. But he's using the last of his savings, and he still doesn't have permission to start working on the party walls yet.
I reckon we could probably go for the Guinness Book of Records here. The most expensive hole in London. I don't know whether or not we can make something of it, but we've had the trial hole dug, and it's all very good news. I've had assurances now that party water awards will be signed by possibly Friday, Monday at the latest. So heart is now back in the right place, and we're moving forwards.
2 weeks later, Jonathan still hasn't got the signed permission from his neighbours. So it's been 2 months since I last came here, and it appears the site has actually stood still.
Yes.
What's been happening?
Well, we've had issues with party walls.
So has it actually been signed now?
Signing has occurred this morning at 9:30.
Have they confirmed that it's been done yet?
I haven't had a phone call yet, but I will
But
be
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, I will be on the phone to them.
And so obviously that has been going on for 4 months, hasn't it, the party wall agreement?
Yes.
Which you hoped it would be resolved very quickly and amicably.
Yes.
Do you think that maybe it might have antagonised them a bit because you started work before you'd actually asked them to sign?
Yeah, I think definitely, because it obviously being my first job, I think that was something that would be sorted out well in advance if I ever to do anything like this again, which obviously I am.
Yeah, because this is your full-time job. So considering it took you 9 months to find this site, and then there's been a delay of 4 months, so that's actually now 13 months, over a year, with no money
coming in. No, it's been a nice holiday, but it'd be nice when the holiday's over and that I can actually get some money coming in. I mean, in everything that we do, it's all about learning, and
absolutely.
I've learned lots of harsh realities, and when I go forward again, it will be a completely different sort of ball game, hopefully.
With no income and all his savings tied up in the project, Jonathan has decided to rent out his home in Clapham.
What I've had to do is rethink my lifestyle, sell a few assets, but this is all in the learning curve, I suppose.
But it's been a very expensive lesson to learn. It cost him £10,000 just to get to the position he thought he was in 3 months ago. His flat's gone, his sports car's gone, and autumn is almost here. Jonathan needs to sell this flat as soon as possible, but every day that looks less likely. First-time developer Jonathan Moon bought this maisonette in Battersea, South London, with dreams of turning it into a contemporary living space before selling it on for a massive £55,000 profit. He's months behind schedule, thousands of pounds overspent, but his confidence is as high as ever. Despite the difficult market, Jonathan now wants more money for the flat.
Whether I sell it for 325, whether I sell it for 350, whether I sell it for £300,000, there will be profit. I will make money, and hopefully I'll get a name for myself. It's an egotistical way of doing things, but at the end of the day, I'm going to get a name out there, and people will hopefully look at me and say, well, look, we like what Jonathan's done in the past. The finishing's good, and hopefully things will help me sell things in the future.
But the most important thing at the moment is to get this place finished and sold, and there's still a very long way to go. 4 months into this project, and the real building work has only just begun. Jonathan's hoping that adding a large loft conversion will add thousands to his profit margin. And it will, if he ever gets it finished.
Well, I had a phone call about 2:30 in the morning on Tuesday evening from the guys downstairs saying that they had a sort of water feature in their bedroom, which I obviously shot down here and where the light socket was, which is usually the place where water finds, and water was pouring from obviously the floor void downstairs into their bedroom.
A week ago, the neighbour's flat was fully decorated, but now the water damage has made it uninhabitable.
I can't see any way that these walls can stay. They're going to have to be taken down. Ceiling's going to have to be reinstated. God, it's been incredibly stressful, as you can imagine. Bought it 3 years ago, working very hard to pay for it all. Just about got to the stage where, well, basically it was more or less completely finished, with a view to maybe putting it on the market and moving somewhere else. And in the space of 5 months, it's a complete wreck.
You've had a very troubled relationship with your downstairs neighbours right from day one, haven't you?
We certainly were involved in a bit of a battle. It's been difficult from the word go. I have tried my hardest to appease where possible.
Do you think that you could have handled it in any way that might have made it easier?
I honestly don't think there was anything I could have done. I think if I would have not bought the property, then I think, and not been here, then I think it would have been all right. And I think there's the only other way that there would have been a relationship of any kind at all. Just me being here. All I was trying to do is to get in, get the job done, get out, get on with my life. I've not come along to do this for any other reason.
It's now September, almost 6 months since Jonathan began his development. The neighbours have been temporarily rehoused while the insurance company sort out their flat. And finally, things are beginning to take shape. The structural work is almost finished, including the new extension and the loft conversion, which means they can get on with the rest of the build. At first glance it may not look it, but this is a very big step forward. God, this looks so much better than it did.
It's good, isn't it?
Amazing, yeah. Well, now it's plastered, you can actually see the size of this living room kitchen, which is, it's going to be lovely actually. It's very light.
Yeah.
You're massively over schedule at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, I think this is week 24. So
and you were planning on doing it in 12, weren't you?
Yes.
So you're double the schedule already and you're still not finished.
Yes.
How long is it going to be till you're completely finished?
We're hoping in 3 weeks' time.
Part of the problem with this build is that Jonathan hasn't been realistic from day one. And even now, that doesn't seem to have changed. You were initially planning on spending £50,000. How much are you going to be spending now?
It's probably going to be more like 60.
But you were already £10,000 over budget, and that was before the party wall problems.
Well, we haven't actually included any extras. I mean, the only extra cost that we've had is obviously the 3 months that we weren't able to do any work, which is 3 months' worth of mortgage repayments. So, but that's only amounts to about £1,500. So, not a huge amount.
So there's that, but also the cost of the party wall agreements.
Yeah, those are all little points that we're still in negotiation with. We are sort of trying to get the cost of that down, even though there's been a fixed build place.
You also spent more on the kitchen than planned, though, didn't you?
A little bit over there, yeah.
Well, I thought you were going to be £5,000 over there.
But yes, roughly about £5,000. We've had
so when did £5,000 become a little bit? God,
well, it could
wow,
be a lot.
You must be loaded.
Well, I think what I've come to terms with is that if it's going to be done, it's going to be done properly. There's no point in doing a half-hearted job. The funds are there, and I've got a checkbook that seems to bounce all over. No, sorry, it works fine.
It's going to be more than 60,000, isn't it?
Maybe not.
I'll
come back to you at the end.
No, I want you to tell me how much is the maximum that you reckon you're going to spend.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I could...
Should we say 80?
Well, let's say 70. Let's compromise.
Okay, so you guarantee it won't be more than 70?
Yes, I promise.
Will you buy me a bottle of champagne if you spend more than £70,000?
Cristal if I spend over £70,000.
Even though Jonathan's wildly overspent, there's one area he's determined not to spend one penny. One of the first things I noticed as you come in here is the 3 windows and the fact that you haven't replaced the UPVC with the original sashes, which in a conservation area I personally would expect, especially for £300,000 for a flat. Are you going to replace them?
No, I think with what's going on at the moment, there's a cost involved and there's also a hassle factor.
I've noticed the original boxes are still in for the windows, so you only need to replace the sashes, which is going to cost less than £1,000 for these 4 windows, and actually add value to this flat and be what people expect in this area.
Well, again, it's preference, isn't it? It's whether anybody thinks that the sash is important, whether or not the double glazing is a benefit to them. I don't think they're offensive double glazing. I think it doesn't look like new PVC unless, of course, you sort of study it.
Jonathan is supposed to be project managing this job, but it's thousands of pounds overspent. Despite his optimism, money and time seem to run through Jonathan's fingers. Three weeks ago, Jonathan told me the flat would be ready today. Ollie. Right, there's a massive amount to do. I can't see how this could possibly be finished for viewings next week. Are you sure this is going to be finished?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
By next Wednesday, it'll be ready for viewing?
Yes. Do you think I'm insane?
Yes. Yeah.
Sarah, have faith.
Okay.
Please have faith.
It's going to take more than faith to have Jonathan's development ready for viewing by next week. With secondary electrics, carpentry, flooring, furnishing and decorations still to complete, Jonathan's going to need divine intervention to pull it off. Jonathan Moon is 7 months into a project that should have been finished in 3 and still isn't done.
It's the 15th, it's Wednesday, it's 11:15. I think the first estate agents should be walking up the stairs. Clearly, that isn't happening. We've made a huge amount of progress. There's no two ways about it. Everybody's worked like dogs, and the place is definitely coming along. It's just physically there's not been enough man hours in days and nights. There's a lot of very stressed people, me probably the most.
The boys, they are so tired. Stay in the job all night. But we're doing well. I'm happy with my people, and I think Jonathan is happy as well.
I'm about as tired as I think I've been in a very, very long time, but I'm nowhere near as tired as the guys. The guys are tremendous.
One more day.
I used to work in quite a stressful environment. I used to work as a sales director, but this is a completely different level, above and beyond what I've ever had to deal with before. It has been an absolute roller coaster. There is no two ways about it. I've never done anything like this before, and I hope to never do anything like this again.
But with one last push, the flat is finally finished. By knocking down the interior walls, Jonathan has transformed 3 small rooms into a great open-plan kitchen living area. At one end, there's a fully fitted kitchen area which doesn't dominate the room. The hardwood floors and bright white finishes accentuate the sense of light and space, making the room feel bigger. Throughout the apartment, old has been replaced with new. The tiny bathroom and kitchen at the back have been replaced by a bright, airy bedroom with huge windows overlooking its own private terrace. Oh my word! This is great!
Do you reckon?
Do you know, I didn't think you'd ever finish it.
There was times when I never thought I was going to finish that. But here we are. It's exactly the way that I envisaged it being, down to sort of the paintings on the walls.
Although Jonathan spent thousands on high-tech gadgets, including a sound system linked through the flat, computer networking and plasma screen, it's difficult to see these making him the money back. The UPVC windows are still there. Jonathan has spent money on the things he would like in his own home. Well, it's all come together really well. The kitchen looks very smart as well.
Thank you very much.
The kitchen has a contemporary finish of stainless steel and granite. This look has more than doubled Jonathan's original budget. It does look great, I agree, but to me it doesn't look like it's cost £10,000. And I think you can achieve a similar sort of look that's a very nice kitchen for about a third of the price if you think laterally, and in this sort of development, in this sort of flat, in this sort of road, I don't think it was necessary to spend £10,000. At the back of the flat, Jonathan's fitted a contemporary wet room that will appeal to the young professional market and can be used as an ensuite to the second bedroom. Well, this is lovely, and I'm so glad you didn't use the glass bricks. That looks great.
It's good, isn't it? Nice light.
Yeah.
Sun reflecting off the back wall. It's good.
This bedroom is actually quite a small double room, and there's no storage. The biggest change and the biggest headache has been converting the roof. Jonathan's created a roof terrace off the master bedroom, which looks great and has the same monochrome theme as downstairs. Storage has been built into the eave space, but this does make the room feel smaller. Jonathan's also managed to squeeze in an ensuite bathroom, which unfortunately cost double his budget. Oh my word, this is great.
Lovely, isn't it?
What a big roof terrace.
Thank you.
It's very important to try and squeeze a roof terrace in if you've got a first floor flat. I've got to say, it's great views out here, isn't it?
Very much.
Wonderful. And even better when you've planted it all up. That's if Jonathan's got any money left. His budget for this whole project was only £50,000. Robert, his builder, agreed to a fixed fee, and luckily for Jonathan, he stuck to it. But elsewhere, Jonathan's costs have gone through the roof. He budgeted £6,400 for the kitchen and bathrooms, but ended up spending £14,955. £3,000 for technology, which cost a staggering £8,500. £1,500 for flooring and carpets, but spent £4,748. Jonathan only allowed £600 as a contingency, but the nightmare of sorting out the party wall agreement and his mortgage payments altogether cost £14,354. Including professional fees, this brings his total expenditure to almost £90,000. How much did you end up spending?
I think it was around the £280-something mark, all told.
Right, because when I looked at the figures, it looked like it was around £284,500 that you ended up spending. How much do you think the flat's worth now?
I don't know, I've got a feeling it's worth around the £300,000 mark, maybe a bit more, depending upon the market.
Jonathan bought the property for £195,000, but he spent £89,500 on renovations, almost double what he originally budgeted. If he sells for £300,000, he will only make a profit of £15,500 for 15 months' work. But Jonathan has always believed that spending money on things he loved would increase his profit. Let's hope the agents agree.
Full height doors, they're nice.
Wow, this is absolutely stunning. This is a super room, isn't it? Nice and bright.
Not too sure about the UPVC windows. This is like the Starship Enterprise.
Lovely high, floor-to-ceiling windows, which is great.
Integrated speakers. Little terrace, which is good. It's quite small.
I can imagine the sun hitting this really all day, and dinner parties going on late into the night.
This is a better sized bedroom. The standard of work's really high.
This is one of those areas where possibly this wall could have come out and we could have gone down into the eaves just to give a better feeling of space. You've got really what everyone wants. You've got a flat with its own front door. You've got 2 double bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Love the open plan reception, good quality kitchen, that's all good. Negative points for me are small bedrooms.
I think in today's market, you're looking early 3s, 310, 315, maybe 320 with the wind behind it.
Realistically, 285 to 289. Max, he'd achieve 285.
We've had 3 valuations on the flat, and the highest of those is 320. The lowest valuation of £285,000 would actually make you a £500 profit on the project. How would you feel about that? Would that be sufficient?
I don't think it'd be sufficient. But I think the most important thing is that I have made some money.
Absolutely. You haven't. You will.
I will.
If you sell it.
Yes.
But if you sell it for $285, you won't actually make any money.
No, but I'll
You make £500.
make £500, which is better than a kick in the teeth, but not enough for a year and a half's worth of work.
Having sold his car, spent his savings, and even rented out his own flat, Jonathan needs to make money on this development. And Jonathan, being Jonathan, he's decided to put his property on the market for its maximum valuation of £320,000.
Now, this is very nice.
It's a shame the windows aren't nice slash windows.
All the toys are here.
Really don't like that. This is like a completely get everything wet kind of shower, is it? This is a funky tap.
It's nice, but there's not an awful lot of room for wardrobes.
It's very nice. I love the big windows.
These lights. Pointless.
It's a really odd-shaped room, but I like that because it's quirky.
This bathroom actually is my favourite room. Seems like it should be a really, really big loft conversion. So that room doesn't feel as big as it should.
It's a shame it doesn't have any period features and sash windows or nice fireplaces.
It's a great bachelor pad, great place for me and my brother to go and live in.
I like the loft. He's done a really nice job of that.
It's very early days, but I really hope Jonathan sells his property and remembers the lessons he's learned. Do you think that maybe if you had been on site more here, you would have been able to control it more?
Personally, I would have been as much use on site as I would have been off-site, bearing in mind that I've never professed to know anything about what makes a site run smoothly.
But if you're not actually interested in learning about building, I'm not sure that you can actually successfully develop. I mean, I can plumb a house, I can wire a house, don't do it very much anymore, but I can do it. And if you don't know the skills, then how do you know if someone's doing it right or wrong? The perfect time to learn is at this stage.
I think actually, for me, it's more learning about the programming of it and understanding about how things work. And that's what I've been trying to do over the last sort of 9 months.
I'm afraid right from the beginning, Jonathan was unrealistic about what was involved in successfully managing this project. And as a result, much of his profit has been eaten away. If Jonathan could get this right on his next project, his dreams of becoming a successful developer might come true. But first he has to sell this development, and it takes 5 long months before Jonathan eventually finds somebody who loves his gadgets just as much as he does, and is prepared to pay £310,000, giving Jonathan a £25,500 profit. In November this year, I went to see him to find out whether he's still developing. Was it an absolute baptism of fire, your first development, wasn't it?
Well, not much more could have gone wrong, I don't think. But then, at the end of the day, we got the right result.
So what was the conclusion with your neighbour in the end?
He claimed on the insurance, he got his property redeveloped and done up to his satisfaction, sold it, and he was happy.
Oh, right, so he was happy in the end and it ended amicably.
I don't know whether you can say he was actually happy, but we didn't come to any blows over it, and we will move on and we move on to the next thing.
After all you went through with that development, it would be enough to put anyone off developing for the rest of their lives. Have you gone on to develop, or is that it for you?
Well, clearly I haven't screw loose, but yes, I have.
12 months ago, Jonathan bought this basement flat in Fulham, which he paid £226,000 for. Like his first development, this flat had only 1 bedroom, but Jonathan had big ideas. This time to extend into the garden. With half the garden gone, the flat was ready for a huge new extension. A year on, it's finished, and I've come along to see it for myself.
Flights come in, and turn in here, second bedroom.
Great. Gosh, this is bigger than the second bedroom in your last development, isn't it?
Trying to maximise space.
So you enjoyed this one?
Much more. Nobody below us, nobody to officially flood or damage.
Great. And I know you have kept the sash windows.
It would not touch them.
On first impressions, this is a very classy development. Jonathan's taken a small 1-bed, 1-bath flat and created a stunning contemporary 2-bed, 2-bath apartment. And I'm relieved to see that it's relatively gadget-free. This is the first bit of gadgetry I've seen. This is zoning, is it? Light zoning?
No, this is underfloor heating for the bathroom.
Right, underfloor heating for the bathroom. Have you got lots of mod cons in this?
No, not as much as before. We learned from the last time. There's no need to spend quite as much money on technology.
It's the bathroom, is it?
It is indeed, yeah.
Gosh, these bathrooms look brilliant. I'm dread to think how much they cost, because you spent twice what you expected to on the last development.
Well, you'd be surprised. Tiles, for example, £3.59 a square metre. 10 times cheaper than they were last time.
Right.
But again, try and create the same sort of look, really.
So you've learned a lot of lessons from last time, haven't you?
Completely, yeah.
Yeah, and you've used good quality fittings that look great, but don't cost a fortune. But the most spectacular part of this development is the 300 square foot kitchen living room that Jonathan has dug out of the old garden. I don't recognise that kitchen. These are amazing doors. Wonderful. And do they open right back?
Yeah.
These really are a spectacular feature. I just hope he budgeted enough for them. How much did this development cost you? Because you were so over last time, weren't you?
This time around, we bought it for 226. We ended up spending around 80 grand.
You're in it just over 306,000.
Yeah.
What do you think you'll sell it for?
Hoping for around the 350 mark. But again, it's...
Right. So that would see a £40,000 profit. It's great to see this time round you've set yourself a realistic budget so that you can actually work out whether there's any profit in the deal or not. Building this extension was an inspired move. In developing terms, adding extra square footage is the best way to increase the return on your investment. And this 300 square foot of extra space costs £30,000 and will add £50,000 to the value of the property. Digging out a basement flat like this, obviously there's the issue of party walls because you're affecting both neighbours on either side and upstairs. How did you approach it this time?
Obviously speaking to all the relevant people, getting a party wall surveyor involved, contacting all the...
Early on?
Before we even walked in through the front door.
This really is a reformed Jonathan. 18 months ago, he had trouble running his own development, but now he's set up a company and is making money project managing other people's sites, like this bar in Battersea. So this is the new plan, is project management for other people?
Not solely. I think that doing stuff myself is more lucrative, but it's a stopgap and it keeps the bank manager happy.
Well, obviously the key is to keep the cash flow rolling, so if this works, this is a good thing to do, and certainly this bar looks amazing. Jonathan completed the total refurbishment of this bar on budget and on time. Another great achievement for this aspiring developer. You've come such a long way from when I first met you.
I've come a long way. I wouldn't say that I'm sort of sitting here on the rich list at the moment, but I think it's about acquiring knowledge, about acquiring experience, and about doing as much as one can to keep yourself busy.
When I first met you with your first project, I really didn't think you'd stick at it, because I just thought, this is never ever going to be a long-term thing. But you do seem to be determined to persevere and make it work somehow.
Cool.
So I'm very impressed.
Yeah, maybe I'm a bit stubborn, but I mean, the lifestyle that I used to lead is something that is the past, and I'm now looking forward to the future.
So you're sticking with property?
At the moment, I'm 100% a property nutter.
With no regrets about giving up his well-paid job in IT, Jonathan's making money and is looking for his next development. Jonathan's first development would be enough to make most people throw in the towel, but after his second development and his plans for the future, he seems to be thinking much more like a property developer, which can only be a good thing for his bank balance. Next week, I'm in Shoreditch, East London, with a young banker who's determined to develop this shell on his own.
When I said drawings, I meant drawings. They've got to be by architects.
I work in a bank. I've never used a pencil and a ruler in my life.